Welcome back to the White Gray Black Weekly Manga Podcast, live action One Piece reactions from two primary manga readers. My name is Bruce. I am the producer of the White Gray Black YouTube channel. With me again this week is my Nakama Gautam.
What's up, people?
You can see I've got the hat. It is not the correct hat, but it is my straw hat, so it is important to me as Luffy's is to him. Let's jump right in as I remove my hat. Episode 3 and Episode 4 is what we're talking about today. These are the Syrup Village arcs. Gautam, first impressions compared to Episode 1 and Episode 2. How do you think Episode 3 and 4 did with their sort of longer storytelling format here?
Yeah, so do you want to combine both of these when we talk about them?
Yes, I think we'll just don't even worry about Episode 3 and 4. It's all one story. Just talk about them together this time. I think 1 and 2 were a little different, but 3 and 4, it's one story. Talk about it as a complete story arc.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I thought it was really entertaining. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch, and I think generally this is one of the weaker arcs in One Piece.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Not that it's bad, but it feels like a lull in the series at least for me. I thought the episodes were really good. I had a good time watching them. I will say my one issue is that I felt like Usopp didn't really get much development, and his character is more so his actor being charming on screen. Yeah. Like he's just, the actor just did a great job. But
yeah,
I think. My small issue, I thought it was overall better than the manga version, just because it was so entertaining to watch on screen. There was a lot of good changes. I just wish that they emphasized Usopp's cowardice and compulsive lying a bit more. He didn't come off as much of a coward to me at all. Really, there was like moments here and there, but he seemed more brave than coward. And yeah. What did you think, Bruce?
I agree with you somewhat. These two episodes, I think the best way I can describe it is these two episodes felt the most Netflixy to me. They felt the most like, I don't know if you watched Wednesday. I
didn't.
Okay, not truly by my choice. I think it was last Christmas when I was visiting friends. We watched like 8 or 9 episodes of it. These two episodes gave me a lot of Wednesday vibes, and I mean that in sort of a neutral to negative way. I think, the biggest takeaway from this show that I think, and these two episodes I think especially prove it, I think we mentioned this in Episode 2 and Episode 1, is that when the Straw Hats are on screen and those characters are interacting with each other or carrying the scene primarily, this show is fantastic. It's so good. Whenever there are side or other characters on screen, the show is substantially worse. And if there's a Straw Hat and somebody else on screen, it's sort of a middle ground. And then if it's only the side characters, the show is sometimes bad, I would say.
The issue, I think, I don't even blame the show for this. I blame Captain Kuro and his crew for being lame antagonists.
Well, I love the guy who played Captain Kuro. I loved him. He gave it his all. He hammed it up. I thought he was excellent. I actually really, really liked him in these episodes.
He did a good job for what I consider to be kind of a lame character.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I think you're right in pointing out that this is not one of the strongest arcs in the manga. In fact, I would argue this is like maybe, as far as a full important arc that you can't like skip over, this is maybe in the bottom like 2 or 3 arcs for One Piece for me. Because I read this, and I remember talking to you about it when I read it. I read this, and I was like, I hate Usopp. Like, you get out of this arc, and you don't even like this character who joins the crew. So, at the I do think this is better than the manga version. I think that's, I think just to get that out there, that even though I was kind of middle on these 2 episodes, I do think it's better than the manga version, because the manga version is like, if I don't like the character you're adding to the crew for another 1,050 chapters, it's not good. I also didn't like Usopp until, spoilers, like the end of Water 7. Or like, I guess the end of Ide's Lobby, right? No, I guess the end of Water 7. But, yeah, I am okay. Let's talk about Usopp specifically. Love the actor. The actor did a great job. You're right, the writing let him down a little bit. I think it's okay. because I think we're getting introduced to him. Usopp in the manga doesn't really get any development until Water 7, I would say. He's kind of just introduced and a coward, and that's just kind of who he is until he has kind of one little thing where he's like, I'm not a mechanic. You can't make me be a mechanic. And that's like his one little character moment. And then Water 7 happens, and then all the stuff with the Going Merry. And that's when Usopp really, in my opinion, gets a lot of development and becomes like a likable, good member of the Straw Hats crew. Up until then, he's kind of just a gag coward character. And me personally, you said that you didn't see much cowardice in him. I'm glad they shied away from that a little bit more. I think they played him a little bit more like pragmatic, I guess, right? Where he's like, hey, the best thing to do is just run away. Like, the best thing for me to do is just go find my friend or go find somebody more powerful. Go find the Marines. Go find Luffy. That, I think, works better in live action where you have to ground these characters a little bit more than, like, if this dude was literally just a coward and his, like, girlfriend was being threatened and all that other stuff and he didn't show any kind of courage, I think we would have hated him, which is kind of what happens in Syrup Village in the manga, right? Like,
no, not quite.
He does come back with his kid friends at the very end, and that's kind of the moment I think we were missing here. But I thought the changes to Usopp were okay.
I think here's my issue is that Usopp's cowardice is core to his character. And the point of the character is to show what kind of a normal dude would look like in this crew full of effectively superhumans, right?
Exactly.
Incredibly competent people. It's like if I joined the Justice League. It's like I'd be shitting my pants nonstop. I think the character Usopp is meant to be both cowardly and brave because he overcomes his cowardice at every angle to like square up with an impossible situation. And I like that's generally the point of his character. But I didn't see the cowardice at play here. But we might see that later.
I think I did see it. I think it's way toned down. Because, like, when Zoro and he are in the basement and they find Mary's dead, he doesn't, like, try to stay and fight the Black Cat pirates? Is that what they're called?
But the thing is, like,
he just runs away.
Not Nami and Luffy in the kitchen, she does the same thing, right? And it's like, it's kind of hard to pinpoint that as Usopp's character trait when it's just kind of a normal, rational decision.
It's a little different. I mean, Nami, I think, like, hid and then got information and made an attack at the end, and I don't think Usopp would have.
Usopp went to go get help, you know? Like,
I don't think Usopp would have done what Nami. I don't think Usopp would have grabbed a pan and attacked the pirate. But maybe I don't know.
Like he kind of
that
attacked
might
Captain
be what
Kuro,
I know.
you know, saving Nami and Kai. Like to me, he just came off as kind of a good dude, but it was like I felt the character traits a little bit missing, and it made him plainer than the rest of the crew. Yeah. Whereas I don't think Usopp ever had a problem standing out from the rest of the crew in or like being overshadowed by by interesting character traits. I like him or hate him, he was always like a very unique character.
He was always unique. I think I'm a little bit more positive on this because, like I said, I legitimately hated Usopp for like 250 chapters. Like, he was my least favorite Straw Hat by a mile. He probably still is, but I like him a lot more now. So I'm okay with them making him kind of less like
he's one of my favorites,
cowardly. And I also think there's room in the coming episodes. I think for more of the growth that you're talking about, because he's going to see, you know, Sanji's going to join, and then Chopper's going to join, and he's going to be like, these are a bunch of weirdos, and I'm just a dude with a slingshot. I think there's a lot of room for comedy and that sort of that characterization that we've got there. He did. Don't
get me wrong. I still liked Usopp because I thought his actor's
great. Writing for him, I still think is good. Yeah.
He had the chumminess with Luffy that you want because
I love that. Yes, again, it's one of those things I mentioned where it's like if the Straw Hats are on screen interacting with each other, this show is so good. The stuff where they were like, what was it? They were like talking about food or something at the party. Like that was great. Actually, all the food stuff in this, like Zoro with his drinking finally and like looking for something to drink, being like a plot point to drive forward. Like that's super good. That stuff is so good in these 2 episodes.
like a reasonable reason to go down to the wine cellar
Yeah.
and find the body. Yeah, let's actually. I know we're talking about both of these, but let's go from the top because I have a few notes that I wanted to talk about. Um, so I think like at the beginning, Luffy shows his silly flag. I love that. It's still in the
Oh,
show.
yep.
And they're talking about how it's not scary, and Luffy says, "Why do pirates have to be scary?" Um, I think like casual comments like these, and Zoro and Nami give each other a look. They this is like the issue I had with episode 1 and 2 is I felt like Luffy's actions changed Zoro and Nami's opinion on him as a person. But I didn't feel like the camaraderie was earned in the first two chapters, or the first two episodes. Here, I think like lines like these are perfect because it is kind of putting in their minds like, hey, Luffy is not pulling one on us, right? Like he's definitely just this kind of guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in these two episodes, and a couple in the past two also, where, because I mean, you're coming into this, right? There's Luffy, a pirate who always wants to be a pirate and is going to be king of the pirates. Zoro, a person who has been killing pirates for 4 or 5 years, whatever, and Nami, who has openly stated she hates pirates. And so, convincing those two, and both of them have their opinion of pirates, obviously like tainted very negatively. So I think, and I saw it a lot in these two episodes, where Luffy says exactly the thing that you pointed out, where he's like, "Why do pirates have to be bad?" He's like, "Oh, I'm a different kind of pirate." There's a lot of like hashtag not all pirates, right? Like, it's literally Luffy being like, "I'm a good pirate. I'm not like the other pirates."
I like it more when he's not saying it explicitly about himself. I like it when he is he's posing questions and doing so with his actions, and
or talking about Shanks as another good pirate. I think works also.
Right. And I think that's like, I think the camaraderie by the end of episode 4 felt very earned. Like, I what I didn't feel in episode 1 or 2 is like, I feel like their trust in each other. And Luffy already trusts them. That's fine because that's very much Luffy. But them all kind of getting along and trusting each other feels way more earned after episode 4, and I'm digging that.
I agree. Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit, but definitely the stuff with Zoro and Luffy especially is a lot better. Something I liked, I think Usopp is really good from like minute 1 of this, where he's sort of running through town and he's saying the pirates are coming, and then he's kind of smiling about it and being kind of like, "Aha, I've always been saying this. This is my boy who cried wolf thing." And then I love. This, I made a note of it early because Zoro says it early, but he says it a lot when when they first meet Kuro, and Zoro's like, "Do I know you? Like, I know you from somewhere." I think that's like foreshadowing one-on-one, like on the nose, but it works so well, where he's just like, "You look familiar." Like, it's literally just like, "You look familiar. I think I know you." And then it's like, "Yeah, because you saw him on a wanted poster and you thought he was dead and you were hunting him years ago and he's a pirate." And it makes the pirate reveal later on for Kuro like work just a little bit better. Like, and if that part wasn't in here, the reveal of Kuro being a pirate does not work as well. It's like such a simple little thing that I liked a lot.
It works great, and Zoro not piecing it together because he's an idiot,
a little dumb.
I loved how much of a dumbass Zoro was in these two episodes.
We really get that in these episodes, and I liked it a lot. Yeah, there's, I mean, we could just talk about it as a whole. My favorite Zoro moment. Well, now we'll get there. It's because it's towards the end.
Because there's one thing I wanted to say, like Nami and Luffy's bet. I thought was excellent because Nami's face lit up, right? Because of course she wants
being engaged with money or being able to win more money. Yeah, I really liked. I'll go. Then you go.
So let's talk about the bet, right? Because this wasn't in the manga. I don't think. At least I don't remember it. I thought Nami and Luffy's bet was great because effectively Luffy is naive and incredibly positive, and Nami's like, "There's no way in hell he can just talk himself into a free ship," and he did. He talked himself into a free ship, but Nami like helped so much in Luffy winning that bet by respecting and talking to Kaya and understanding that the victims of, like, she returns the thing she stole after seeing Kaya as a person.
Yeah, which is
and then went on to save her and protect her and give her, enable her independence and confidence and freedom. And at the end, when Luffy, and she's still salty at the end when Luffy is very smug about winning the bet and getting the free ship. I think that's just perfect for her character.
It's great. There's also another level of it, a level to it that I think is great, which is I think Luffy. I don't want to be like, oh, he's so smart that he knows. I think he is. I think Luffy. How do I say this? It shows that he's intuitive enough to know that this sort of greedy kleptomaniac, stealing girl is like, if I make a bet with her, she's going to engage with me. And then if I win, she's on my team. I think he has that intuition of other people's character, which I think Luffy does in the manga and the anime and everything also.
I don't think he thought of that when I think he just wanted to have a fun bet, but I think you're right on the money with how intuitive he is about Nami's nature.
Yeah, I don't think it's thinking
everyone's
is
nature.
What I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I don't think Luffy is like thinking his way into this. I think he just intuitively knows, like, this is how
he knows how to
Nami.
read people's characters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah. He has a read on good people, bad people. He just has a good gut feel.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting at. Yeah. It's just a feeling. It isn't necessarily he's like smart and reading into it. He just knows, like, how do I get this person to interact with me and join my crew? And he's like, I'll make a bet with her because she's going to engage with that. I really liked that whole scene where they're in the sort of dressing room area. Another thing that I really, really liked is Luffy, like, not being able to comment on how Nami looks because he just doesn't. Like,
he's asexual.
Yeah, I mean, probably. I'm fully behind. I hate to prescribe a true sexuality to Luffy, but it's just like, it just doesn't, girls just don't matter to him. Attraction just is not a thing that is important to him in the slightest. It doesn't even think about it. And so when she's like, how do I look? And he's like, you look like Nami. And she's like, okay, how about now? And he's like, you still look like Nami. I don't get it. Putting that in there to me is like, that's so good because I love that about Luffy.
I think with like the whole Boa Hancock situation, just
I was gonna go there. Yeah,
like in the manga, I think it's kind of easy to say. But I mean, this is like in women. He's just interested in adventure and meat.
Yeah. If we get to the Boa Hancock stuff, though, like, it's easy to call back to that moment in episode 3 to say, like, oh yeah, he did the same thing to Nami. Like, it's very obvious that Luffy is just like not sexual, right? Like, it's just pretty much just hyper asexual. I liked that part a lot.
That was great. Zoro wanting black, that's edgy. I loved it.
I think that was fun.
One little Easter egg I saw is when Usopp was escorting them to Kaya's house, we saw their garden, which also that looked great. The garden had a bush. What the bush? You cut them into shapes. I forgot what it's called.
Bonsai or
like you cut them into shapes of animals, and
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah. There was a Panda Man one.
Oh, really?
Which was a nice. Yeah, there was like a duck. There was like something else, and then there was a Panda Man, which is for those who don't know, in One Piece, Panda Man is kind of just like this little Oda cameo character.
Is he in? He's not in every chapter, is he? Not
in every chapter.
He just shows up a lot.
He just shows up a lot, yeah. And he's in popularity polls. He's just a background little guy that you can very easily miss.
I forget about him, and like once a year, someone makes a post, and it's like, oh, I found Panda Man. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Panda Man is like in stuff occasionally.
Yeah, it's just a fun little Easter egg.
That's cool. I'm gonna have to go back and find that because I want to see that.
Real quick, just wanted to say this before we move on from this topic is Nami's relationship with Kaya completely changed from because she said at one point, rich people don't have the same emotions we do. Yes. And then she stole all the stuff, and Kaya was so nice about it. And I think that she changed her perspective like instantly.
I absolutely adored that they did that with those two characters. Especially in One Piece, and especially in the first half of One Piece, it is so hard to get two female characters in the same room talking to each other. Now, it doesn't pass the Bechdel test, right? The Bechdel test is two female characters talking to each other on screen and not discussing a man or not talking about a man. They did talk about Usopp, so it doesn't pass that test, but I still massively respect the writers for being like, hey, we have two female characters, let them have a scene together, let them have like real development together. And I think it also goes, it's another thing that I think is more Nami development. To to me, since I know that we're ending at Arlong Park, the whole first season is going to be like maybe like Nami's season, quote unquote. But
we're ending on Arlong Park.
I think so. Right?
Are we not going to Logetown or whatever?
I just meant like we might do Logetown at the very end. I'm not sure, but like the series climax is going to be Arlong Park, I assume.
Oh, for sure.
The sort of big ending. Episodes.
Definitely.
But I love that because I think that her talking to Kaya and her realizing, hey, my opinion on rich people might be wrong, I think also goes to inform her opinion on pirates and helps her get closer to Luffy and closer to, joining the crew and stuff. So that whole scene, just making the choice to put two girls in a room together and have them talk in the first half of One Piece, where I don't think in the manga, I'm not sure if that ever happens. Like, because Oda is much less good about females especially in the first 300 or 400 chapters.
I don't know if I agree with that, to be honest. I just don't think gender super mattered in One Piece to begin with, because I don't think it's about. Well, I think Usopp and Kaya was a damsel in distress. Don't get me wrong. So that was fixed here, but I felt like Nami was always the brains of the crew and so vitally important. But I don't think like it's like sexuality and romance was never a part of One Piece aside from Romance for the Sea. So I feel like women were always kind of powerful in One Piece.
There's a difference between, to me, there's a difference between the Straw Hat females and then every other female, especially in the first half, right? And that's where it's like, okay, Nami and Robin and Vivi are all very well developed, very well written female characters. But in the first half of One Piece, it's like, okay, maybe Kureha is a well written female. There's much less. I'm just as a strict sort of it's a boys manga, for 14-year-old boys shonen type thing. I think it's just good in the modern age to make a change to just in the original manga. There's not a scene. I'm just saying in the original manga there is not a scene between Nami and what's the other girl's name who I've forgotten. In these two episodes.
Kaya.
Kaya. There's not a scene between Nami and Kaya, and bringing a more modern sensibility of let's have a scene with two female characters in it, like just from a very meta outside perspective, not even to comment on One Piece, like as much, but just doing that I think was great. I'm glad.
I agree. That I agree, and I also appreciate that scene because it kind of foreshadows Nami's character and what happens.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It shows how guarded she is. When Kaya says, like, you're not very good at this friendship thing, are you? And that's like such a good glimpse into Nami as a person. She's on guard.
Yeah.
Always.
And also to put sort of like the I'm a thief and everyone else is awful and pirates are bad against this like super good, everyone is a good person. I don't care that Usopp is a compulsive liar or a coward. I love him. Like putting those two characters against each other and like having the very nice one sort of like disarm Nami and win, like, quote unquote win, and change her.
Kaya's like so insanely kind and understanding that it's disarming.
And it's a very One Piece sort of positive thing that it's like, yeah, of course the really nice person wins over the really mean person. That's just like, yes, of course, it's obvious.
Yeah. I agree. I thought that was a great scene and a great addition. And I think they cut the little kids from Usopp's arc, which I think is a good choice.
Didn't like those kids.
I thought they were fine, but they needed a lot more time to work, and I'm glad that we didn't spend that time because we.
Well, I also think finding good child actors is hard, and we will get to that in a couple minutes. But let's something else. I had a couple more notes on.
One thing that was missing is Django, and while I think he wouldn't have fit here, like he barely fit in the Usopp arc, but he was so fun. Django was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
The hypnotist. He was just a fun little character that I'm sure there was a cameo of him somewhere. I'm kind of curious to see.
They're probably running around in the city somewhere, or the town.
Yeah, someone caught him somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple more notes from episode 3 that I made. We got Arlong name dropped early, which I think is good. We saw the scene.
Bounty.
We just used Bounty.
His bounty poster he bit apart.
Yeah, well, he's like used his nose to cut it, I think, right? Or maybe he bit it, maybe both, something like that.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure. I'd have to rewatch.
Maybe he did like a bite in the nose thing. I don't know. But we meet Arlong. Buggy is still around, which is great because Buggy is awesome. And he's like finding his leg or something. I'm glad we're introducing Arlong early. Again, I think that these are the things that in hindsight you can look at all of the sort of East Blue arc and make things more connected. Because obviously back then Oda's just kind of, where's the next island they go? And they meet new people. And then where's the next island they go? And nothing's really starts being connected as much as it is way later, obviously. So I like that, like, okay, Arlong's here. He's name dropped. We have that his bounty is the highest we've seen. He's the big bad. We get that he's kind of like a mobster that rules the East Blue, right? Which is good. I think it's like, okay, we've revealed our final boss. And they're looking for Luffy now, right? So it's
right.
Target's on his back. I like that they did that. I don't.
The early introduction was great. Yeah.
We'll have to see what they do with Arlong as he comes on because he didn't do too much, but I liked the early introduction.
Me too, and he seemed better in this than the trailer. Mm-hmm. So I think this is just something that will grow on me as I watch him more on screen.
Yeah, I hope so.
Another thing to add on to your point about setting things up a little earlier is in this episode we saw a lot of Garp being Kobe's mentor.
Yes,
and that's great.
Which is something we didn't know until like 20 chapters ago, or no, I guess we knew about it maybe like.
But we didn't see a lot of it. You're right.
You didn't see much of it. I think we maybe saw it in the little pre-pages of One Piece, maybe. But
yeah, and Kobe gets his development like mostly off screen, so it's nice to see it like established early, and
it'll be cool. If we
can talk more Kobe in a second when we get to episode 4, but
if we get to the time skip in One Piece live action, it'll be cool to see Kobe come back as like, I am now Captain America. Like, minor spoilers, but Kobe comes back and he's not this like little kid anymore. But he's very cool. Yeah, I had when they do the little dinner party, I loved the whole dinner party scene and the eating and stuff because me too. I thought the character stuff with Usopp and Luffy eating was great. The drinking stuff we mentioned with Zoro. I think Kuro comes in and is like, "Shall we move to dining?" And Luffy's just like, "Yes!" Like really, like that's great. Like I love that they are characterizing Luffy as like he's there for the food. The dinner parties are like the thing that they do at the end of every like arc, pretty much. I love
to see a parallel between Usopp and Luffy. Usopp telling the tall tales about his adventures, and Luffy telling the tall tales. Well, not tall tales, but like true stories that sound just like Usopp stories, right? Mm-hmm. Except they're real. So
and I thought
Usopp
that works
feels a bit fraudulent in his own head. He's like, exactly.
And it also I think works to motivate Usopp to leave and go with them, obviously, because it's like, wow, maybe all my stories don't have to be lies. I think part of it is for Kaya, right? He wants to go and get real stories to tell Kaya because he's been making up these stories and she loves them. But like, what if they were real to him? That makes him more real and their love more real. And it just works in such like a simple, easy, connected level where it's like, I have been lying about this and I have a chance to go and not be a liar about and tell good stories and stuff like that. So I like that Usopp was very like into the stories they were telling. I also loved how was it Nami or someone was trying to be like, oh, we're sailors, or they called them sailors, and Luffy's like, nope, we're pirates. It's just like dropped it at the table. Everyone's like, what?
It is so refreshing. Luffy
it's so is. Good.
I just love Luffy. Manga Luffy and this Luffy. They nailed it. Such an encapsulation.
Very minor changes, but all the important things are there, and so it really works.
He doesn't understand the subtlety and nuance and the perception other people have, and he doesn't care. He stands on the table and starts giving his spiel,
like points at her with a drumstick or whatever.
And then is just incredibly honest about being a pirate, his exploits, and that he wants a ship. And I think I think that's great, right? Because
so
I
good,
think
yeah.
Kaya respected that too. Uh,
So we
I
so
have one few more things
go, yeah.
on
Take
episode
a note.
3.
Take a note. Yeah, go for it.
So there were a few jokes I really liked. One was they were all like walking around the palace or the house at nighttime, and Luffy and Zoro meet up in like a hallway, and Zoro's like, "This place is a maze," and it's just a straight hallway.
Yes,
It's
God.
just like a straight line.
So they I don't remember Zoro having bad directions early on in One Piece. That feels like a post time skip thing to me. I think it probably did happen, but not nearly as much. But I
It was
think,
pre-time skip, but not at this point. You know,
and
they didn't
I don't think
establish
that
this
they
quirk.
did it too much. I think maybe in like
It was in Water 7 where
yeah,
he accidentally arrived at the Going Merry 2 times when trying to
that's
like
right. Yeah.
find something else.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's here
but
now, and
yeah,
I think that's
this
again, that's another one of
is
these
great.
things. Another one of those things they can do with the live action, which is like we have almost 1,100 chapters of character development of who these people are, and you can bring that all in now, and it's even better because the characters are more well defined currently than they were originally. So yeah, him being lost is great. I have to call out. I'm just going to mention it now. One of my favorite scenes in both of these episodes is after Zoro gets out of the well and and Luffy's being held by the Marines, and Zoro
Yeah,
shows up
yeah.
and beats him. And he's like, how'd you know to come find me? He's like, I didn't. I thought this was the direction of the house. He's like, no, it's the other direction. That to me was the perfect, like, Zoro is lost thing. And
That is perfect.
loved
Yeah,
that part.
it's a great callback to the quirk, and for any manga anime fans, they already love these lines. You know,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is just a fun little establishing thing for the show watchers.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so funny.
I'd be interested to know how someone who hadn't is new only into One Piece live action feels about little stuff like this that we're like, oh my gosh, Zoro gets lost. We love it so much. Then they're like, okay, he's okay. It's weird, but I hope it's goofy and endearing enough for people who don't know the true context.
I don't think they would have put together. I think they would have assumed that the place actually does feel like a maze.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like or that, or just think it's a plot convenience that Zoro found Luffy. You know, that's what I would think. I didn't.
You're probably right. It's nice that it kind of works as both. It's like it is a plot convenience, but also we will learn Zoro is just like that. So it's not it's not a plot convenience for people who know what's up. But if you haven't, then it might seem a little convenient. But yeah, I like that a lot. Zoro's getting lost here is great.
I have two final notes on episode 3, and then we can move on. It is I wrote it down. Luffy putting pastries in his pockets. Why, bro? And then
Luffy does that all the time in the manga, though. He like puts food in his pants like all the time.
It's just funny. And then Luffy putting eaten drumstick in his pocket.
Yes.
Why, bro? I love
great.
that. It's so
funny. I liked it. I think it's towards the end of episode 3 is where my note is that they just I love that they name drop Yasop. They say this is Usopp's dad. They say he's on Shanks' crew. They say that Luffy knows him. There's no beating around the bush. There's no connecting this 20 years past the, whenever it happens, or, oh, is Yasop Usopp's father? And they're both sharpshooters. He says he gets the sharpshooting from his dad. Like, just connecting all those pieces is so...
But I liked it too. I thought that was like a very natural conversation in the kitchen.
Yeah. But it also just like, because One Piece gets so big and epic later on, it's better to make these connections now, in my opinion, to make things feel a little bit smaller. And then when we get big, you'll see that like, oh yeah, like Usopp being connected to Shanks' crew like this is important and it's cool and it's world building that, connects all these things together. And I don't think we knew about, like, when did we know about Yasop being both Usopp's dad and on Shanks' crew in the manga? Like, surely that was...
I think it was this arc, actually. I think that part. I think so.
I'd have to go back and read it because I don't remember, but
Because part of Usopp's flashback, I think that's why they talk, like, his dad leaving, his mom being sick. That's why he starts, like, running around lying. That pirates are coming to indicate that his dad is coming back home, so his mom is happy. And they touch on that a little bit.
They do that here. It's okay. It's not the best, but it's better than Zoro's flashback. So
that was a strange part. We can get to that. Let's move on to episode 4. Unless you have any.
Let me see. Let's see, the Kuro reveal is at the end of episode 3. That was good. Zoro has good badass lines in these episodes. He because he's been doing like, do I know you? Have I seen you? And then they're in the basement. Kuro reveals himself to be like a bad guy or whatever. And then Zoro has a line where he says, so I will collect a bounty today. He's like, oh, I thought I was going to collect a bounty or something.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah, Zoro's fucking cool, dude.
I like Zoro a lot in this. I think but the super speed, not great. That's a little Netflixy to me.
I jotted that down. That looked really cheesy.
Pretty cheesy. Yeah, which is, we'll talk more about in episode 4, because episode 4 leans into this kind of theme and stuff. The Usopp crying flashback happens at the end of episode 3. The pirates are here. I liked it. I think his mom says like, I believe you or something that is just like, yeah, it's like simple. I thought it worked. And they didn't dwell on it too much, right? It's a lot of, here's the context. His dad left, his mom died. He lies because of that. Okay, now he's a liar. Let's get him from there. I
think it could have used a little bit more time. It was so brief that I don't think the audience had a chance to make an emotional connection to Usopp's situation.
I also wonder,
it was like 10 seconds, you know?
I also wonder if they were going to go ahead and just be like, Yasopp is my dad, Yasopp is Usopp's dad, and we saw him, last episode in Luffy's flashback and blah, blah, blah. Like, why could that actor could have appeared in a flashback with Usopp, and we could have gotten just like one more scene, maybe.
Maybe something. Oh wait, maybe like Yasopp and his mom with Usopp as a 2-year-old or whatever. Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah, and that maybe would have just been like just a little bit more. Okay, let's move on to episode 4. The first note that I have for episode 4, let's just address it while we're here, is that the Zoro flashbacks are awful. Easily.
Real quick, can we talk about something before the flashback?
What's that? Yeah, go for it.
So I liked the inclusion of Kobe and Helmeppo doing stuff in this arc, and kind of how hands are tied the Marines are. But Usopp had a really good line where he was appealing to Kobe. It's like, my best friend is in danger, talking about Kaya. And then he mentions Luffy, and Kobe's like, Luffy's here. It's like, yeah, my other best friend.
I actually had that down in my notes too.
That was so fun. I like that.
Like, Luffy? It's like, yeah, my other best friend.
I gotta say, I love Helmeppo, his inclusion.
Helmeppo was great. It was one of my favorite characters. It's like Buggy, Helmeppo are like my top 2 right now. It's so good.
He is that actor is so talented at playing a shithead.
He's such a shithead.
His facial expressions are like wild. I love it.
Yeah.
Actually, that you're right. Like that character, I don't think it's any kind of green screen, but he has One Piece facial expressions down.
Yeah, either he's just got a big mouth, and if so, God bless him, or if not, I think they're making his mouth like 5% bigger with CGI. I'm like almost convinced, especially in, I guess it would be episode 1. I am convinced they are. Maybe
I hope that sounds insulting. I think he's just skilled. I think he's just skilled at manipulating his face. And I haven't seen anyone do it like him, I guess.
Yeah.
But and I also noted that I think Kaya's actress is quite good.
She's good too. Yeah. A lot of the Straw Hats are all great. The sort of primary side characters, like I thought Kuro is good. I thought Kaya is good. And then everybody below that is
only think
not quite as good.
Issues. Well, I only have issues so far. Like the only side character / bigger character I've had an issue with so far is Shanks. And only at certain points. And then some things in the Zoro flashback. Some things in the Zoro flashback. No, acting wise.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. I gotta say, we comment pretty often on the main podcast talking about manga. If we talk about One Piece, Zoro's backstory is quite possibly the worst writing Oda has ever done. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's actually bizarre to think that Oda even wrote that because of how genius the rest of the writing in One Piece is.
Yes. I think the One Piece live action Zoro flashbacks are like worse. I thought they were awful. Like, this show varies between like okay Netflix cheesy to really good. I thought the Zoro flashbacks were maybe some of the worst television I have ever seen. They were awful. They were like poorly written, And God bless those actors, poorly acted, just not directed well, not shot well, so cheesy, like in the worst kind of cheesy. I hated them. How did you feel about the Zoro flashbacks?
I'm not sure. I found it worse, but because
equally as bad at best.
There's one reason I thought it was a little bit better, but still bad, of course. And I think that it was the parallel of him climbing out of the well and having the flashbacks kind of intercut between it. I think as like as a tool, it felt like cooler than just a pure flashback. But with that said, you're 100% right. I think those the child actors, the Zoro one looked 1-to-1 like fucking Zoro, dude. I was like surprised as to how well he was cast. But they both weren't. Nobody in that flashback was very great, but they were given the shittiest source material to work with.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I can't even blame the actors. I can't even blame the actors because the script they were given was bad, and it didn't feel like they were directed very well through the scene either, because it felt like I could see that the actors could like do something. I mean, Zoro's actor could be angry. He could emote. Kunia's actor, Kunia, is that her name? What's his?
It's a Kuina.
Kuina. There you go. Yeah, Kuina's like, you could tell that they both could act, and they were just not being given the right direction. And I agree with you that intercutting it with Zoro climbing out of the well was good, but my problem was that when Zoro's climbing out of the well, I think the idea of intercutting Zoro climbing out of the well with his flashbacks is a great idea, and I think that worked. The problem is you would cut from really cool, interesting Mac and you, buff Zoro, emoting and acting and climbing out of the well to the worst, like some of the worst television I've ever seen. And it's just like, the thing is, it was so cool to be like, yeah, we're flashing back. This should feel really cool because we're getting, the character overcoming something in his backstory in this one. And then it would cut to like more Zoro backstory, and I was like, oh my! And I was hoping, I was like, okay, how are they going to do Kuina's death? And they
didn't even say.
For me, man, it's worse. I think it's worse to not say it. I think it's worse to just be like, she died in a way that we won't say in an accident. It's like, no, embrace the goofy. Say she just died falling down the stairs, and at least maybe you get a laugh out of people. I don't know, man. I hated every minute of those Zoro flashbacks. He's like, without a doubt, the worst thing I've seen in this One Piece live action. And like, I'm really being honest, that is some of the worst television I have ever seen, is those Zoro flashbacks. It sucks that it's in this One Piece.
I agree with you that the way they did it was so dumb. But it was, I think, falling down the stairs like just undercuts Zoro's emotional like stakes.
I don't get why
but like
they took all these liberties and they couldn't make it a little bit better. Like,
they couldn't fix how she died. Like, just like say something.
Just say, here's the thing. You just say pirates killed her, and then Zoro has a reason to be a pirate hunter because he hates pirates for killing his friend. That's so easy.
Fix, right?
You don't have to say anything other than pirates attacked and they killed Kuina. Like, boom. We understand. We know that pirates are bad. Like, oh, it's so easy. It was so easy to rewrite the worst writing Oda has ever done, and they didn't. And it is it's some of the worst television I've ever seen. I hated it so much.
I don't know if it's the worst television I've ever seen, but I agree that it's jarring when compared to like it's like
a lot of the other show, which is good.
A turd in like a pile of gold. It's just noticeable. But no, okay. Here's a problem, Bruce, that I feel like may happen, because in the manga we see Kuina fell down the stairs and died, and we see her body, her dead body, which confirms she is dead. Which there's a mild spoilers. There is a character named Tashigi who looks just like her, and we know that it's not her, but a different character. But it like invokes certain feelings in Zoro. But if Tashigi is introduced in the show, there's no way for the audience to not know that it's just Kuina, because
that's true.
We haven't seen her body, and like it's like the death happened off screen. It's like it's a trope in any like television show or like anime or whatever, that if you don't see it happen on screen, that they're probably not dead.
Right. If they die off screen, they're not dead. That's very anime manga thing. Yeah.
Us manga readers or anime watchers know she's dead, but I think if I was a show only watcher, that's insane if you don't think she is dead. But like like the show watchers will be like, oh, we didn't see her die on screen, and justifiably so. It's like, oh, Tashigi's her. She just lost her memory or something. Like, it's very easy to jump to that conclusion.
Well,
I don't know.
I
either
actually,
way, it was bad. I agree with you.
It's bad. I think for the Tashigi thing, I think it's pretty easy. If it's not the same actress, people are not going to hopefully not make the connection. But maybe not. I don't know. I do think like 60 seconds of One Piece manga talking. I think Kuina might not be dead because Zoro never beat her in a sword fight, right? And I think there is a chance that is something that Zoro needs to do before he is the greatest swordsman, is he has to beat Kuina, and he never got a chance to.
That would truly be the shittiest writing Oda has done if that is what happens.
Would fit exactly in with the rest of Zoro's backstory, so that's why I think there's a chance. A small chance, but I give it like a 15. It's like a 15-20% chance she's not dead. Zoro has to fight her, but anyways,
I'll give it a 0.01%.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But
enough about Zoro's backstory.
I just feel so strongly that she's dead.
I think she
real quick. I do want to say, was this backstory, was this flashback for Zoro at this point in the manga? Because it felt weird to put it here.
I actually liked the position of it. Because something else we didn't mention, but they continue doing the One Piece different title scrawls. Like episode 3, I think has like Usopp and like the sort of long nose thing from the manga, and then episode 4 has Zoro as like a Zoro motif on it. So
yeah, I didn't notice. Okay, got it.
It's not here, but it's close to here. It's somewhere between when Zoro joins the crew and it's in the first like 40 chapters. So
I think I would have put it in Sanji's arc because it like for the Mihawk stuff.
That might be when it is. I don't know. I mean, the truth is in the manga, it's like half a chapter. I don't even think it's a full chapter. It's like half a chapter. You flash back to like Zoro fighting. He can't beat his friend. She's like, "You'll beat me when you grow up," and then she dies.
The shortest stairs, and it's over.
Yeah.
So for me, it felt like Usopp was already kind of sharing his arc with Kobe and Helmeppo. The screen time that was like he was sharing it with like the Marines in there. Now he feels like he's sharing it with Zoro a little bit. I think we could have just used more of that time for Usopp characterization in my eyes. But who knows how they change things? Maybe he gets a lot more later.
Well, and then that's what I was thinking. I think the show is maybe hopefully telling us that like, hey, we introduced Zoro in episode 1. He's getting more development in episode 4. You know, Nami in episode 1, she gets like a lot more in episode 3. Maybe there's going to be obviously a lot more in a couple of episodes when we get to Arlong Park. So I think it's just showing us that it's not going to really do what the manga does, where it's like you introduce this character, you develop them fully, they join the crew, and at that time they're like a static character. I think they're going a lot more dynamic with, we're going to show you more of the character over a longer amount of time. So I don't want to say I'm confident, but I'm very hopeful that Usopp gets more to do as we go on, and more to sort of show that he's a coward and
overcoming cowardice,
and being brave in the face of coward. Yeah, like exactly all that stuff. I think that's coming. Because I think the show is telling us that a character is not introduced, and when they join the crew, their development is over, kind of the way it is in the manga. I think it's showing they join the crew, they're still a dynamic character, they still change, they're still being characterized as they go. So, because the show has room to do that, I think. Whereas when you're writing a week-to-week thing, it's a lot more difficult. So,
right, cool. I think we covered a few of my other notes, like Luffy winning the bet. I said the fights were fine. I didn't think they were bad at all, but I didn't think they were anything special. But that's also because I am just so uninvested in the Kuro pirates, to be honest.
The two lower pirates are very sort of like, these are the bumbling idiot pirates that are not worth anything. I get that they had to give them a fight scene against Zoro, but like Zoro, I don't want to be like, Zoro should have been done with them instantly and no fight scene. But it's like, okay, they give him a fight scene, it's still fun.
He just stomped them.
I mean, he did, which is good. Yeah. I mean, and that was cool. I liked I agree. I think the fight scenes were all pretty good, especially Zoro's. Like, Zoro is easily the best action in this show so far. The like up and down the stairs, like, was good. Getting his swords back and like plunging the 2 in the ground and then pulling the third one out. Zoro is fucking cool in this show, by the way. Like, very. Back and You kills it. I I don't like Zoro very much in the first couple 100 chapters of One Piece. I think he's a pretty bland character in my opinion, until he kind of gets more and more to do later on. But I like him way more in the show, so I think it's great.
It's interesting because Zoro is a character, right? Every other Straw Hat had an amazing flashback or an amazing.
They all have very good backstories. Yeah,
and Zoro has the shittiest one. But Zoro is an immensely popular and good character in my opinion. But it's everything. All of his amazing moments are earned over the course of the show.
Yeah,
and have very little to do with, I feel, his character arc aside from the Mihawk thing.
I think the Mihawk stuff is hopefully going to give him more. A little bit more solid character. I mean, I'm sure it will, because I know we're getting to Mihawk this season, so yeah.
But he is just very cool and a very good character, but everything cool about him doesn't have to do with his backstory, in my opinion.
It does not, because his backstory is garbage. I think I sent you a message. Wait, what it is? I have to find the message I sent you, because I thought it was funny, where it was like, you'll be happy to know they respected Oda's writing an incredible amount. Yes, because Zoro's backstory, which is the worst writing Oda's ever done, is still absolutely awful in the One Piece live action. So,
and I don't know, I might have just skipped it or rewritten it altogether.
Yeah, maybe. But so a couple of things I wanted to note on episode 4. This is where stuff goes Netflixy for me, and very sort of like Halloween goofy themed, which I think is an interesting, fun choice to make the sort of this episode 4 where they do the like lock the house down, which I'm like, okay, like, come on. That's, to me, that's like, I know that One Piece is goofy, but sometimes they do stuff and I'm just like, nah, I don't like the way that is goofy. Lock the house down didn't work for me. I get it. The kind of horror vibes, air quotes, around that, I thought was good. I think it's cool to add a little bit more of like a visual and lighting style theme to Kuro and the pirates being locked in the house with Usopp and Nami and Kaya. So I liked that. It did also make it feel very Netflixy, and that's why it reminded me so much of Wednesday. Is like, okay, man with blade hands walking through this house, people sneaking through the walls. It's like, this could be a scene out of the Wednesday Netflix TV show. It just could. Like, is very much the same thing.
Yeah, and okay, so this is interesting, right? Because in the manga and the anime, Usopp handled this situation by they were fighting on a beach, and Usopp had a plan and rigged his surroundings. Even though he's weak as shit, he rigged his surroundings to give himself an advantage to fight Captain Kuro and people way stronger than him. And I thought that was great because it parallels Kuro of 1,000 plans, where Usopp is the one with the real plan, and he's able to use his brain to compensate for his lack of strength. They didn't do that here, but they didn't have time to.
Yeah, it's hard to do all of that.
So instead, they went with what is it? It's Freddy, right? That has like the fingers the same as Kuro. They went with like a
Freddy Krueger, yeah.
Freddy Krueger type beat where he's just a kind of a handy Freddy Krueger type villain.
Which
that was fun. That was
I liked it. Yeah, I liked Kuro. The actor who played Kuro again went like full ham, all into it. Every actor who just like fully leans into how goofy and silly it is, like the Buggy actor, the guy who played Kuro, like that wins in my opinion. Like if you don't lean all the way into it, it's not going to work. And so yeah, I liked Kuro a lot as a villain. And I love I don't remember if they did this in the manga or not, but the way he pushes up his glasses with his palm.
He does, yeah.
And he does that because he has blades on his fingers, and it's like that's cool because it's like I have glasses. It's like I would never push up. I would never do it with my palm, but if I have something on my hands, like, oh yeah, you do that. I thought that was a cool like foreshadowing thing. Again, there's a lot of smart writing in this show, so I like that a lot.
I think like I mentioned, them taking away like the negative aspects of Usopp's character and some of the positive ones, but instead the episodes were more fun for it, which I think is a good trade-off as long as you compensate for that later.
Yeah, I think we'll get more. There was like a really, every once in a while there's just a really bad line. I think after they locked the house down, there was some like, maybe it was the Marines or somebody. No, I don't remember who it was. There's some like, oh, now we're like, are they trying to keep the pirates out? But now they're keeping the pirates in. Like that like generic line like that, which it's like, come on, like please stop.
That was
I did like the costumes for all the the cat pirates. I thought when the two lesser cat pirates,
costumes.
when they changed, I was like, okay, yeah, that's straight out of the manga. That's great. Luffy.
Luffy versus Kuro. Kuro had a line.
There's a little bit of stuff before that, so hold on. So I have some notes on like Luffy throwing up when he's with the Marines. I think it was like that's great. Like just absolutely spewing from eating all the poison stuff.
That was great.
Yeah, horror under theme's good choice. Usopp gets scared by a bunch of little stuff. I thought that was good characterization for him, like some creaks or he like runs into something in one of the rooms and just like gets scared immediately. I think there's some little stuff for Usopp that isn't quite as big, but I liked that.
And I like the inclusion of Kobe kind of struggling to balance what he thinks is right versus his duty to the Marines as well. That was good. There was. I'm going to talk about a part like before they fight. Where Luffy is like, my crew, we all have each other's backs, and Kuro mentions how it's just a crew. It's like they're all disposable pieces for the captain to use. It's a good kind of reflection on how Kuro sees things, how pirates see things, and how Luffy sees things.
Yeah, and I think there's some other lines where Kuro talks about like what being a pirate means, and Luffy is like no, being a pirate is about like adventure and freedom. And he dropped that freedom thing, which is in the manga especially a much more key point of the whole story. So I was super glad that they fit that in. Again, these writers, as bad as they can be with Zoro flashback, they get the Straw Hats as they are, and so they haven't.
It's not even the writer's fault for the Zoro flashback. It's Oda's fault.
I guess. How did you feel about the Kuro Luffy fight? I guess you want to talk about that.
It didn't really matter to me.
It was okay. The head thing I thought was goofy and fun. Do you think? Here's a question. So at one point in the fight, Luffy stops and like listens for Kuro, and then like finds him and does like a around the pillar punch or whatever.
Oh, that was fun.
Do you think we're foreshadowing? What's it called?
Haki?
Observation haki. I kind of got the idea that the creators were like, if you know what haki is, you might think he's using it here, and if you don't, you just think he's listening. I wasn't sure what they were doing with. What do you think?
I think you can argue both. I don't remember if this part was in the manga or not, but I
don't think haki is invented in the manga until like Water 7, maybe.
It was introduced in Skypiea.
Skypiea, yeah.
Weirdly, yeah. Even though it wasn't technically until later, but I think you can see it as both, right? Because,
I think so. I think that's the intent. Yeah.
Luffy's just a natural at it. He's like he flies by the seat of his pants and does everything by instinct. So, I think you can very well say that it's an intentional choice to foreshadow haki in one way or another.
And I think it's done really smartly in that if you don't know what haki is and you're watching this for the first time, the moment still makes sense because you're like, oh, he's just listening for where Kuro is. But if you know what haki is and you know about observation haki, you were like me, and I'm going like, are they going to put observation haki all the way back here? And it's like, maybe they kind of did. So I thought that was a cool nod. I think that's just the creators are smart about stuff like that so far. So
yeah. They have some cool shots. Speaking of shots, one I wanted to mention is in the beginning of episode 3 when they're looking at the bounty posters and they're like, whoa, Buggy had a big bounty. Yeah. Luffy is sitting against the wall with his ass to the wall and his legs up against it vertically. And they're switching between him and Zoro, who's standing like a normal human being. And I thought that was a cool shot. And then they did a little weird fisheye lens with Zoro. And I'm like, oh, that's weird.
That's another one of I think there's those like Netflixy moment things where it's like, most people don't do this, but all the Netflix shows do this that I've seen. Like Stranger Things will do those like weird fisheye shots and stuff like that.
The fisheye is weird because it makes it look like the character's having a panic attack or is sick or something.
Like right along, like
it feels claustrophobic. But then they have like a few shots with the cat crew, the Kuro crew, where it's like the 3 split. You know what I mean? Like there's like a vertical.
They do the sort of like panel on screen, right, where it like breaks it up with lines and like panels the shots out. Yeah. That
was pretty cool. I like that.
I don't mind those. They shouldn't use them too much, but I thought those were pretty good. Also,
it was fun.
The gum head thing is fine. You mentioned that Luffy's really smug when he wins the bet. I made a note about that.
That was fun.
So the whole ending here, The kiss is great. I thought that was excellent.
I was gonna say, yeah, I read that. It is.
It's better than
vague in the manga when it's very obvious that they love each other.
Yes.
So I'm glad that was more or less confirmed here, because it makes no sense that it wasn't in the manga.
I also think this gives Usopp a little bit more drive of like, I have to, experience stories and be a pirate so I can go back to like the girl I love. Because I've never bought minor complaints about the regular manga. I never really bought like, oh, Usopp's goal is to like go to Elbaf for some reason. I don't know. I guess Elbaf. Just pick a island that he wants to go to. To me, it's much better to tie him to a person, to be like, well, I've got to experience everything I can on the sea. So when I go back to my girlfriend, she's like, happy, and all the stories I tell her are amazing. So the kiss is great.
Both in the manga as well, but you're right that this is like them having like a by proximity romantic relationship in the manga is strange, and it doesn't carry the same weight towards Usopp's goals as them actually establishing a relationship. You're totally right.
Exactly. I think it's way better that they made it more solid, more set in stone. The kiss is the kiss says everything. It's great that it's there.
It was sweet. Yeah, I liked it.
It was
good.
That
was great.
I like that Usopp still plays the like. They know I'm the captain, right? Like,
yeah, I wrote that right after doing.
I did. I have like they know I'm the captain, right?
Let them have this.
So I think. You're going to have to let me know when they sail away on the first time on the Going Merry. Yeah. That's an anime OP, right? An anime
I wrote this in all caps. The ending song is the instrumental version of We Are.
Okay.
It was so
I recognize it. I heard it and I was like, I've
it.
heard that song. I think that's the anime OP. I don't remember it, but I made a note.
Bro, it made me want to cry. I loved it. That was so awesome.
Yeah, I thought like christening the Going Merry was great. Naming it after the goat guy, who, by the way, we didn't really mention him, but for the few scenes he was in, I thought Mary in the show was really good.
Me too.
Again, I love sort of like with, I think it was in episode 2 with Garp wearing the like dog hat. I like how there's just a sheep man in the show and they don't address it, which is good. Like, don't talk. Who cares? It's just a sheep man. There's just sheep men in One Piece. Move on. I like how they didn't address it. He's just a lawyer, and he dies. Like, that's great. He's a character. It doesn't matter that he's a sheep man.
I love that as well. They don't address it at all, because this is just normal in their universe. And I love that Nami instantly tries to pull a scam on him. Yes, Nami's so great, dude.
I do like that now we've seen her try to pull a scam on like almost every episode, or at least in episode 1 and 3 and 4. She's just like, I thought I could get this guy to give me something. Which is super good. They sail away on the ship, and then the final sort of moment is Luffy looks back with his spyglass and sees Garp chasing them, and he goes, "Grandpa," and that's great. That's what I was asking for when we talked about episode 2 is the reveal of like, why don't they give us like a big reveal of these two are related? I think it's great though. Like,
that is a big change. I'm curious as to how this changes a few things, because this is a much later reveal in the manga and the anime, that Garp and Luffy are related. I'm happy to see that here. A few things. While they're playing We Are, the crew's settling in. It's Zoro settles in instantly. Zoro is instantly a crew member faster. I like that. Usopp and Luffy. Okay, there's a really funny line. I'll mention that in a second. But Usopp also settles in. But Nami, you can tell she's warming up. She, as a character, she always has her guard up. You can tell she's warming up to the crew. And this is after you see her little betrayal.
Yeah, she's worried about her little transponder ear snail that got drowned or whatever, or possibly drowned, but yeah.
I think this is a very good show don't tell kind of scene, because you can just see it by proxy of the actors' faces. They show it all in their face, and I think that's so good. So, okay, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you think Garp is... I haven't seen any of the rest of the show.
I also have not. I'm going to watch it maybe right after this, but I have not seen it anymore.
In the manga, Garp literally chucks cannonballs.
Yes.
At them. Do you think Garp will throw cannonballs at them?
Oh, now that you say that, I hope he does. I never would have thought of that, but now that you mentioned it, I'm like, I hope he does. We'll see. I think that Garp is, in my opinion, maybe the most changed character so far.
Yeah, he's very grounded.
He is not quite the same. But again, now that we have this sort of grandpa reveal between Luffy and Garp, I wonder if, maybe not suddenly, but I wonder if we'll start to see a little bit more of like Garp acting a bit more like Luffy now, right? Because I think what we talked about in episode 2 was that you don't know they're related, you kind of develop them as different characters, and then eventually you reveal that they are related, and then how does that change the characters? And it should change Garp, in my opinion. He should be goofier now.
I want to see Garp lose all of his cool all at once when dealing with Luffy, because that is how exactly. I feel like it should be.
Yeah, he should. Well, and that's the. It's so I don't know what to predict with Garp, because I think they've changed him so much, because he used to be just very sort of like jovial, like angry jovial, justice marine man, right? Like, oh, he's not beholden to the rules. He has his own justice, but he smiles and he laughs a lot, and he's sort of big and boisterous. And in this one, he's much more kind of like serious, and like very serious, very like not as happy and jovial, but
competent and fair, right? Like he's such a rational. He seems like a good leader,
Yeah, good leader, sort of like solid head on his shoulders. Definitely like not like the kind of Marine leader that you hope all Marines are, but they aren't, obviously, which is kind of what I don't know, because Garp in the manga is more like, I don't know if you had multiple Garps running the Marines, it would probably not be a good thing. In this one, yeah, you would want Garp running all the Marines. In the manga,
there's a reason why Sengoku took over instead of Garp, because Garp is not Garp is not like a bureaucrat in any way. He's a dumbass,
right?
Who is insanely strong and has a good value system of justice, but is not like a leader.
Yeah, he's much dumber. Is much more he's just literally like Luffy for the Marines, right? Like that's just what Garp is. Like he's just stupid out there. He has his own thing. He knows what his justice is. That's what he's going after. Doesn't really matter. Like he could have just been a pirate and been almost the exact same character, kind of same thing with Luffy, but Garp in this one is much more serious. Smarter, definitely, because we see him playing Go, I guess is what that game is, or maybe just a variation of it.
I don't know what I didn't know what that was. Maybe you're right. It's Go. Yeah,
it's either Go or they're doing a variation on it or something. But he does lose to Kobe pretty quick. But
well, I hope that's just a hint that Garp is an idiot.
Yeah, maybe like someone else will play and be like, "Oh, Garp's like the worst Go player on the boat."
I do hope that this serious Garp completely changes his disposition when dealing with Luffy, because that is how Garp is like he wants to reel in his brat of a grandson,
exactly,
and I want to see that. I want to see that version of Garp too.
Yeah,
I think I'm cool with him being competent like 90% of the time if he are serious 90% of the time if he loses his cool when dealing with like Luffy.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm curious because, he's been pretty cool-headed. He had a little bit of like a speech to the Marines where he was like, oh, when Axan Morgan is bad and you're following me now and this is under my control. But that wasn't really anger. That was much more just kind of like, I'm speaking as a stern leader. I agree. I would like to see him like completely lose his cool. I think he doesn't know it's Luffy yet, so I don't know if we'll get that moment, but
he does, because it's like
I think he's very suspicious, right? Obviously, I think he's like, okay, I think this is my grandson, but I'm not sure. Once I verify it, we'll see what happens then. Which might be at the start of the episode. But
yeah, because he just heard the name Luffy, but he hasn't seen with his own eyes to confirm.
Yeah.
There was a really funny scene with Luffy and Usopp, which I thought encapsulated the camaraderie perfectly. When Usopp shows his flag, and he's like, and he's like, the flag represents the captain, me, Captain Usopp. And Luffy's like, no, I'm the captain. He's like, no, I'm Captain Usopp. And Luffy gets like confused, and he's like, I'm Captain Usopp. Wait, no, me, Captain me. It's like, that's great.
That's awesome. I again, the Straw Hats interacting with each other, easily the best part of the show. They're leaning into. Not even, it happens in the manga too, but in a lot of the like extra bonus art, it's just like Luffy and Usopp like being dumbasses together or like eating together.
Buds.
Yeah, they're like stupid best buds together. So I'm glad they're already leaning into that. So I think we're going to see more hopefully coming up in Baratie or Barati, whatever they call it. So
yeah, I've always said Barati in my head. I wonder.
I think it's good.
If I'm just butchering French. Yeah, I have no idea.
I think that they say Barati from what I've seen from previews and stuff. If I read that in French, to me that is Baratier, but maybe I don't know. Who knows? We'll see in the next episode. So
Luffy hasn't used Gomu Gomu no Balloon yet, where he inflates himself into a giant balloon to deflect cannonballs. He does that a lot, right? I'm wondering if he ever
start
does
next
that.
episode, maybe. I mean, if they're still getting chased by Garp and he's shooting cannonballs, this might be the time. Yeah, we'll see.
It's just that is going to be the weirdest looking Gum Gum ability for the audience to see. So I'm curious if they even do it.
But it's so important. Minor spoilers, but like if you don't know that Luffy can inflate himself using his rubber powers, like the gear 2 through 4 don't work. You kind of have that is like you have to know that Luffy can inflate himself using rubber powers in order to understand how gear 2 and gear 3 and gear 4 work. So
yeah, very true.
I think they have to do it in some way, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't inflate his whole body. Maybe he like inflates his hand and like hits them back or something. I don't know. There's ways.
I just say do it. Just fucking do it.
I think they will, but who knows?
We can stomach all the other weird shit that happens later. Just set a baseline of weirdness already.
Exactly. I mean, I think they already have with the Alvida fight and stuff, but
exactly.
I think I'm out of notes. Do you have anything else on the Serp Village stuff here?
No. I kind of just I just have my overall thoughts on it.
Overall, I was going to say then no more notes. What overall thoughts on these 2 episodes?
Yeah, I thought they were great. I thought they were entertaining, and I thought they were better than the original Serp Village arc. Mm-hmm. I think my biggest issue is that Usopp didn't get nearly the development he did in the manga. But that is the trade-off for making it more interesting and more fun to watch. And I think that's a good trade-off to make. It needs to be compensated at some point for us to understand Usopp as a character, which I think they will do. And I just want to point out again that them playing the instrumental version of We Are was so nice to hear. That it struck such an emotional chord for me. I love it.
Yeah, I think I've heard a lot of other anime watchers calling that out, of being like, oh my gosh, when they play the anime OP, it's so good because it's, first sail on the Going Merry or whatever. So
yeah. How about you? What do you think?
These episodes were okay for me. They were a lot more up and down than the first 2. I thought episode 1 was pretty good. I thought episode 2 was really good. Episode 3 and 4, I like all the Serp Village stuff. I hated with every fiber of my being the Zoro flashbacks. So highs and lows. It's still overall pretty good. It is not a bad show. It is not unwatchable by any means. And like I said, anytime the Straw Hats are on screen, it's great. And if it's 2 Straw Hats talking to each other, it's amazing. So, and we're getting more and more. Now there's 4 Straw Hats, so now there's even more. And next 2 episodes, we should have 5. So the more Straw Hats we get, the more time they spend on screen, the better the show should be. Looking forward to Garp and Arlong and Barati and all that stuff coming up. Barati especially. Barati is the first, other than Arlong Park, Barati is the arc that's maybe the best arc up to that date. So curious to see.
It only gets better. It only gets better from here.
It's pretty. Yeah, it's like Barati's good. Arlong Park is great. Alabasta is amazing. It just keeps going up. So.
And I think it's cool to note that that Serp Village is what I would probably consider the worst writing and worst parts the series have to offer. Not to say it's bad.
Yeah,
I still think
it's definitely bottom 2 or 3 arcs for me. I mean, it's not a very long arc. It's like 15 or 20 chapters, but it's not very good.
And everything after is better than everything that came before. So it is just up. It's just up from here. And I'm absolutely excited to see that, considering I thought this was a pretty good adaptation of
pretty decent
I consider to be a slog. Yeah.
I mean, I think, and we said it in the first 2 episodes, and I'm sure you've heard it a lot online if you're paying attention there, but like the whole section that this season is adapting is like the worst stretch in the whole manga. Like the manga just gets better after this part. Like starting at, was it like Drum Village is just like better than any of the East Blue stuff. Like maybe not as good as Arlong Park, but like Drum Village is great. And then Alabasta is.
Are you talking about Drum Island with Chopper?
Drum Island.
Alabasta? It is.
Drum Island is with Chopper. That's Chopper stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder how they do that.
Like Alabasta is easily my favorite arc. It's top 3, top 3 or 4 for most people. I think everyone loves Alabasta. That's when the show is like, or the manga is like really, really, really good. And we're not even getting that. Like Arlong Park is very good, but Alabasta is next level. And
Yeah.
Inez Lobby and Water 7 are same next level. So yeah, it just gets better and better. So
I can't wait for Sanji's arc though.
Me too. I'm very excited to watch these next 2 episodes.
There's so much strong writing in that arc, and I can't wait to see how they adapt it.
And Sanji is a character I know that they have changed a little bit. So we can make a little predictions about what we think is coming up with Sanji. I know they've changed him a little bit. I've watched a lot of previews and clips. He's not as much of a hyper simp. They've changed him much more to just be kind of a suave ladies man, which I think is a smart change. But we'll see that. We'll definitely see that coming up.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Sanji always started out as a suave ladies man, and then revealed himself
quickly
to be,
developed into a complete idiot around women, which
I like, because it's like a Johnny Bravo kind of thing where even though he is attractive and is like trying so hard, he doesn't get the ladies. But I'm glad that they toned him down a little bit, because he's still a cartoon character in like the manga and anime, and in term, like, it's a cartoon gag, right?
Yes, it is.
They have to change that for the live action a little bit, just like they changed Luffy's character.
Right. Translating cartoon manga Sanji right into a real person borders on like
an insane person, right?
Like abuse almost. Like, yeah, like he's just absolutely crazy. So I'm curious to what they'll do. I have some history with being a chef, so I will be curious to see how they pull that stuff off, if they have done their research. A lot of shows don't and try to make it up, and it comes out pretty bad. So I know that the actor who plays Sanji, I think his name's Taz Skylar, he, like, when he got the role of Sanji, he went and did he learned to cook himself, like from like points, like learned to cook and learned to fight with his legs. And we've talked about on the podcast a couple months ago, there was some stuff of Taz doing kick fighting, and it's awesome. So I'm actually really excited to see him fight also.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, we'll show up after Sanji's arc. I'm assuming it's 2 episodes, right?
It is, yeah. So Baraty's 2 episodes, and then Arlong Park's the last 2 is what I understand. Arlong Park can continue. Wait. So yeah, very excited. Cool. Anything else, or we getting out of here?
Yeah, let's get out of here. To be continued.
Let's set sail. Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast and you want to support us, give us a like or follow. Any type of positive reinforcement, go do them. Other than that, follow me over at Twitter at WGB Manga. And as always, thank you so much for being with us on this live action One Piece review for episode 3 and 4. Please come back for 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. There's going to be 2 more. We'll have 4 total episodes. Yeah. Hope you're enjoying the show. Adios, everybody. And hey, don't forget to watch more One Piece live action on Netflix. You should pay me for that, Netflix.
True.